This is Steve Zeltzer with WorkWeek. The recent struggle of workers in the United States to protect themselves against being contaminated by COVID-19 has also taken place on the shop floor of auto plants organized by the UAW. Workers, in fact, wildcatted at many plants to demand an end to the production because of the contamination. At UAW 167 in Wyoming, Michigan, the General Motors components part plant, and I'm with Travis Watkins. He's the bargaining chief bargainer of UAW Local 167, which produces General Motors parts. And he's been involved in a struggle to protect the health and safety of the workers at his plant and was retaliated against for doing that. Welcome to WorkWeek, Travis.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
So, Travis, why don't you talk about what led you to be concerned about what was happening at your plant as far as the health and safety of your fellow members?
Well, obviously, I was keeping up with the COVID-19 working its way through the country and into our plants. I had received a phone call from some of my members at the plant saying there were some issues with security driving out members wearing face masks on and health and safety cards throughout the plant. And I reached out to security to ask, to confirm that with me. And that was confirmed by them that 2 people had been walked out that particular day for suspected COVID-19 symptoms. And I thought it was important to reach out and to my local leadership to address the issue to see if we can't either organize around the health and safety issue that was going on or, to try to get with the company to mitigate the circumstances on the floor to keep people safe.
Well, when you mean walked out, what does that mean?
Well, that means, they had symptoms on the floor. They were either coughing, they have temperature or certain symptoms that related to the COVID-19 that we're, supposed to be looking out for. And they had those symptoms. I know the one gal that was walked out had spoken to a team leader, and she had like high fever and dry cough and some of those symptoms. And she was reported to medical with that. And as she reported to medical, they determined that, hey, we need to get her out of this facility. And so she was escorted out in security to have a protocol where security would come up and take them out.
And was there any education of these workers about protection from COVID or protection on the job so that they would be aware of what was going on?
I would say very little. We had some information coming out from the local leadership. And it was really just addressing membership meetings and certain committee meetings. They were being canceled in regards to this COVID-19 stuff to keep people safe and social distancing and whatnot. But they weren't addressing it in the facilities. So it didn't make much sense to me that they would address it inside the membership meetings and committee meetings, but they wouldn't address it inside the plant. You got hundreds of people on a plant working side by side. And to me, it was something that we needed to discuss and work out for the membership.
And how many workers operate in that plant?
That's a good question. I mean, I think there's right around 900 in that facility. We just recently took on a driveline components about a year or 2 ago, so we added another few hundred employees.
And you're saying that they work close together so that there's not really the physical distancing which are required to protect them?
Yes, they work together, in groups and whatnot. You're in a certain group, and, obviously we all use the same break rooms, restroom facilities, and other common areas throughout the plant.
And so what did you do when you saw this situation where workers were being walked out?
Well, what I immediately done was I contacted my local executive board, which I'm part of. Through group text messaging, I have the executive board members and tried to address it with them. I said, listen, we've got people, it's been confirmed to me that people are leaving the facility or being walked out with these suspected symptoms, and what type of action do we want to take to address the situation collectively in our plant? That's what I initially did.
And what was the response?
It wasn't good. It seemed like they just weren't very concerned, and I was also told basically because I'm a contractor inside the facility to kind of stay in my lane and worry about my unit and not worry about the GMCH members, which I thought was ludicrous because, we work hand in hand with those people. We're in the same facilities. We work across the aisles. And, we're one. We're taught to be one, and we move as one. And they didn't like me showing solidarity across the aisles and trying to address their membership as well.
Well, how is it that you're doing the same work, you're one, but you're in separate companies in the same plant?
Well, that's a good question. We're in a really weird position because we do have two of our bargaining units in the same facility. And, working hand in hand with these people, we thought it was important. I thought it was important to address it on a plant-wide basis instead of taking, I'm going to protect my unit. We need to protect everybody in the facility.
Well, is it possible to just protect your unit and not the other people? I mean, it seems like if you don't have a protect everyone approach, you're not going to be able to succeed.
Right, and that's exactly right.
And so then what happened?
Well, okay, so I put that out, and then, the very next day, I went into the plant, and that morning I was called up to the supervisor's office, and I was told that, because of a social media post that I put inside of a private Facebook group that deals with, it's a union member page. We talk about our job, site conditions, and union-related issues. And they said they took that post and were going to terminate me because of that.
And all your post said was you were concerned about COVID. Is that what happened?
Verbatim, the post said it had been confirmed to me that members of GMCH had been walked out of the facility for suspected COVID-19 symptoms, and that I had reached out to local leadership, and I had heard nothing back. That's verbatim.
And somehow that got to the company?
It got to the company, which I was surprised, and because, again, it's inside of a private Facebook group, a Facebook group that is actually hidden from the public, so nobody can really see it or find it, even if they search for it. So it just told me that somebody inside that group, which there was members of the executive board, possibly took that to management, and come to find out through some investigation that that's exactly what happened, that my own local leadership had approached management and went to them with the issues that I was addressing with them.
So you're trying to protect yourself, your fellow workers, and get more protection. And by raising that, some people in the local executive board actually turned that over to management. What did you think about that? Were you surprised by that?
I was dumbfounded. I was absolutely dumbfounded and disappointed. I thought this was an issue, health and safety issue, to keep our membership safe and informed of the conditions that were going on inside the plant. And that's what we're trained to do. That's what we're supposed to do. And so I was highly disappointed and, again, dumbfounded by that they would do something.
And is this, you think this is part of the kind of ideology, the labor management partnership?
Well, I think it has everything to do with the management and union partnership, these joint partnerships that they have. The International came out with a joint task force to address the safety issues inside the plant surrounding COVID-19. But instead of reaching out to the locals to see what was going on the shop floors, they decided to partnership up with the companies and address it without knowing what was going on. So, yeah, it was just very disappointing to see that.
And the national UAW has a health and safety department. Health and safety is a very serious issue for auto workers, for parts plant workers, because of the dangerous conditions and also injuries that you have. Where is the health and safety director of UAW?
That's a good question, because also in that leadership text message that I sent to the executive board, I addressed that. I asked where was the health and safety manager, the health and safety rep for the UAW. Where were they at, and what were they doing to address this situation? I outlined certain specific conditions that were going on in the plant, and again, I heard nothing back.
And what should they have been doing?
They They should have gotten on the floor. They should have talked to these people. They should have immediately called these people that were being walked out in what conditions, and been aware of what was going on so they could at least address the people that were potentially at risk to either get with the company to mitigate the circumstances, to provide proper PPE, get proper training. But that did not happen.
And what was the justification the company used for terminating you?
Okay, so the exact termination wordage was they got me on a shop rule number 2, which is assaulting, fighting, intimidating, coercing, or interfering with employees or management. That's what they got me on. That was their excuse and what they used to terminate me. And
is there any substance to that? It sounds pretty crazy.
No, absolutely not. There's not. It's they have no basis for that, and that's why we believe we have a good case to win this fight, and we should.
And what about OSHA? Have you contacted OSHA? Because it is supposed to be illegal or improper to retaliate against somebody for making health and safety complaints.
Great question. Yes, I actually did contact OSHA. I did file a whistleblower complaint with OSHA, and I had my first interview with them last week. So I think what they're supposed to do from that point is they're going to be contacting the company to see if they can mediate a resolution to the issue. If not, they're going to move it forward to a full-blown investigation.
And do you think that there should be criminal penalties for management who retaliate against workers who are trying to protect the health and safety of workers?
I do. I look at my particular case, and I think if this issue, when it does get resolved, and I believe that it will, if they bring me back with just back pay and reinstatement of my benefits, that who's to say they can't just do this again if there's another health and safety issue? Somebody brings it up on the floor and they just immediately remove them from the shop and just bring them back, and knowing that we're going to have to pay them, but there's no real penalty to that. So I think they should be penalized.
And the response of labor, not only the UAW but the AFL-CIO, many unions, has been kind of a reactive thing, not proactive. You think that there's a systemic problem about labor not confronting what is a life and death situation for workers and their families?
Absolutely. I mean, this is a very, very serious situation, and people are getting sick inside these plants. Many UAW automotive workers have died, and I believe it's going to get worse before it gets better. So, absolutely.
And you think this is going to change the thinking of members and really challenge the whole union structure, which seems to be MIA, or at least the leadership, in using the power of labor to really fight back and defend working people in this country?
Right. Well, the only real strength is our solidarity as workers. That's how we get things done. Time tested. If history has taught us anything in the labor movement, is when we all stand together in solidarity to address these issues, that's when we win. And when we fail to do that, that's when the company wins. And unless we take this issue that's very serious and organize around it, then it could possibly happen again. And people, could get sick and die from these injuries or illnesses that are not being addressed.
And have there been any investigations by OSHA at the plant? Have they gone in the plant and done any investigations about the health and safety concerns that you and other workers have?
Not that I know of as of yet. Like I said, I just filed that complaint a couple of weeks ago. I don't believe that they're going to do a thorough investigation until they talk to the company and they see if they can mediate a resolution to my particular case. But in the past, I have certainly addressed some health and safety issues inside the plants with OSHA. Getting OSHA out is a difficult task for them to actually physically come out to the plant unless it's something majorly serious. But I've called on some other issues that I believe were very serious, and they sent a letter to the company to give them a chance to address the issues and fix the issues. And the company responded that they had in fact addressed and fixed those issues, and they had not. OSHA is great. It's a tool that we can use, but again, it's important to keep them keep them informed and moving forward on everything.
And workers, do you think should have the right? Do you think workers should have the right to shut down jobs and shut down plants if their health and safety is under serious threat?
Absolutely. I mean, that's what we should be doing. We're there to make sure, we do a job, and it's important that we go home to our families at the end of the day, safe and sound and healthy. And when we come across circumstances that compromise that, it's important for leadership to stand up and organize around that issue.
And what does it say about the fact that these companies, knowing that we have a COVID pandemic, would allow their workers to be contaminated? And I understand that a lot of plants had wildcats because they weren't shutting down, they weren't taking any preparation. What does it say about these companies?
Well, it's a very clear message from the companies that they're putting the profit over the health and safety of the workers. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Again, with this international partnership with the companies, it seemed to me, and this is my opinion, that they were trying to mitigate loss to profit with these companies over the health and safety of the workers. And I thought that was the wrong approach.
And you're the bargaining chair of your local, and you've been retaliated against. What has the International done? Have they publicized your case and demanded that your company rehire you?
Well, no. To this date, I have not heard anything. I've reached out to International. I've called Rory Gamble's direct line. I've called my regional director. I've reached out to my particular department at the International, and I have not heard anything back. Nothing.
And you've also been involved in a struggle to democratize the UAW. You think that there is any relationship to the retaliation because of that?
Well, I would hope not, but I think that it possibly is. I'm a founding member of the UAWD, which is Unite All Workers for Democracy, and we are a grassroots movement within the UAW for reform efforts to address the corruption and whatnot. And for me to be a very strong voice inside that movement, I think could possibly keep International from working hard for me.
And this corporatization of labor in the United States, it seems like labor is just reacting to this, reacting to that. It's not really challenging corporate America and the politicians and these agencies as aggressive as they should be. Do you have the same concern?
I have that concern, absolutely. I mean, I think we have a very disenfranchised membership. We have a very uneducated membership at this point. We've lost our way as far as the militancy within the UAW that we need to fight to bring back. And I think the companies take advantage of that, knowing that there's these partnerships with the corporations on a multitude of different issues, instead of addressing coming to the workers and addressing their issues.
And the shutdown now, there's been a collapse, it looks like, in the price of used cars now. And a lot of people are not thinking about buying either cars or homes. They're thinking about staying alive for them and their families. Could mean to a long-term depression in the United States and collapse of a lot of industries. What do you see the future for workers such as yourself and other auto workers who need to work, who need to survive?
It's a I don't know the word I'm looking for, but it's a very it's a future that is uncertain. We have the electric vehicles and whatnot. We're going to look. I mean, we can anticipate having fewer automotive workers in the past because of job security issues and the fact that it takes less people to make these types of vehicles. So I think we're going to see a slow decline. A fast decline, I should say, of losing these jobs.
But people need to live. They need to have jobs.
They do, absolutely.
And so there's going to be obviously a struggle of workers to fight to survive and the right to have a job. I mean, do you think that's something that should be guaranteed?
It should be guaranteed. I mean, that's what we have a union for. I mean, we have a union to fight for job security and to address these issues with technology and whatnot. And I don't think that we're using the full power of our solidarity as workers to address those job security issues inside our international union. I think the membership is quite vocal about that, but it's getting the voice inside the halls of Solidarity House to speak for the membership.
And a web page has been set up for you to support you. You want to say what that is, or people?
I'm sorry.
A web page has been set up. There's a support campaign for you, for defense of you.
I've been overwhelmed and just so appreciative of people that have come out in support of my cause. I do have a GoFundMe page. I don't have the website address for that right now, but I think if you just look on GoFundMe and look for Travis Watkins, you should be able to find that. And, I'm just, I'm one of those type of people. I don't like asking for help, but, I have a family to take care of that. I have a high prescription cost, and right now I'm without wages. I filed for unemployment, but of course the company denied me unemployment for misconduct. I will appeal that. But I'm also without health insurance during a pandemic. My family's without health insurance because of this.
Yeah, well, that's millions and millions of workers may lose their health insurance because they've been laid off from their jobs. So that's a terrifying thing for workers and their families in this country.
Absolutely.
Well, I want to thank you very much for joining WorkWeek, and I hope that your struggle is taken up by other workers, because I'm sure there are other workers who are in the same situation. So we've been talking to Travis Watkins. He's the UAW 167 chief bargainer in Michigan. So thanks for joining WorkWeek.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it. Thank you for your support.